Well,
It's
hello.
not Thursday.
No, it's not. I apologize to everyone watching. We had to make some small concessions to me coming back from Orlando in terms of work
Yes.
schedule because
Or
I, apparently,
Horrorlando, as the terminology could be applied to your Brazzers porn crew visit.
oh yeah, that was great watching the porn crew check in. Right, I just needed another key into my room, and then I realized that they were on the same floor as me, and I'm like, do I
That's funny.
do I go check it out? I don't know what the protocol is here.
Pardon me, ma'am. Did you call for room service?
Did you order a pizza with extra sausage?
I heard you
There's not
had
that much
some
extra.
plumbing issues in your room. Oh, sorry, that must have been room number 69. Yeah, yeah. I could have fed you lines all night for that conversation. My lighting is going wild over here. My remote's really pissed off. Apparently, the weekend drained the remote, so every time I touch it, it wants to shoot back up to 50% lighting. Anyway, we're here, and we're glad you're here. And Brian is here. He says it feels like Thursday. John is here. Glad you're doing it today. Yes, and who knows? David's got his Thursdays clear for the moment, but we'll see. And yeah, wanted to be a film star, did you? David probably had a sudden, compelling urge based on his observations in the lobby, at least.
No, they always, I always hear this urban legend that like most porn stars are not people that you would hit on at the bar. I would have hit on these at the bar. I would.
You trying to say that all of it is in makeup and post?
That's what you always hear is the urban legend, right?
I would think post-production for porn is more of a matter of janitorial services than editing or color balancing or anything. But what do I know, right? Yeah, I think there was one year of one of my Nashville events where there was a team next door doing a porn shoot, and that was kind of funny.
I vaguely remember this.
Oh yeah, it was hysterical.
And apparently they were doing a bunch of like amateur stuff. Apparently, like, if I remember correctly, they were like going around to the like convention goers and being like, "Hey, we'll film."
Mm-hmm. That might have been kind of what was happening. I didn't know about that until after the fact. I don't know if I would have gotten involved because then I'd have been somehow liable for something. Instead, we chose to just make it a contest for noise making. So, how you doing? Now that you're back, like you're in one piece, you didn't absorb too much DeSantis, apparently.
Oh, I will say this: I'm glad to be back home. I'm glad to be out of hurricane reach. I just have tornadoes, and here's the best thing: it's cold here. This is what I've had to explain to some people.
Is it though?
And obviously, Floridians don't understand this because they've chosen to live in Florida. In Tennessee, we have 100 degrees and 100% humidity for 9 months out of the year. And then we get our treat, which is winter, and it's cold. It is 20 degrees outside right now.
Is it?
I am loving it. Yeah.
That's astonishing. Here, it's 30. It's been around 30 for several days. There has been some snow, which is why one of my beers is holiday-oriented tonight. There's some beautiful fluffy snow that covered the landscape, but not the roads. Exactly the perfect solution there. It has mostly melted away today because it got up around 40. But now everything is like bright red and warning about a winter storm. Like, look at this shit. Winter storm warning. It's like going nuts. It's supposed to be 28 tonight.
Yeah, let me see what the temperature is right now. Oh, never mind.
No.
I scratched that. The temperature right now is 43. It was in the 20s this morning.
Oh. Yeah,
so
that makes sense. But you're right. That always was kind of a nice respite. Yeah, apparently at 11 o'clock tonight it's going to snow a little bit here. And then at 6 a.m. it's going to just start snowing for 3 days.
Yeah, no, I mean,
But it's not as catastrophic here, of course. It's just another day.
Here,
if forecasts were happening in Tennessee, you would
be out of bread, out of milk,
Yeah, you would
out
either
of
be well
eggs.
stocked for the world's largest pancake / French toast breakfast, or you would have nothing. And
Right.
the only thing I don't like about that Southern cool down, and I've noticed that very specifically this weekend here on Sunday night when we were done loading out the Comic-Con, we walk about 3 blocks to dinner afterwards. And all I did was throw a hoodie on over my polo shirt, had jeans and t-shirt, or jeans and tennis shoes. And I've got my hands in my pockets, no gloves, and it's 30, and I'm just walking and very comfortable, like very comfortable. And,
Yeah, and
it's amazing the difference, like basically no humidity, dry, cold, doesn't feel as brutal and insulting as a southern damp cold.
right, because that damp cold will slice you to the bone.
Yeah,
But yeah,
fucking blows. I'm actually really shocked how comfortable and okay with 30 I am here.
yeah. No,
Oh, hold on. John says, Chelsea New York Post. Oh, yes.
Yes.
We will be talking about that for
We
sure.
will.
Also,
We
tonight
will.
we're going to do something a little different. We've noticed kind of like the viewer curve. We want to put the main topic in when most people are here. You know, we ramble for a good hour and a half, 2 hours when we do this. And, you know, that's not abnormal in the podcast world, but not everybody does a whole show, or at least not in one sitting. So since we kind of have this like whoop in the middle, we're going to do the main show topic first for a bit and see how that goes. That way we can ramble and dick off on the pet topic, that whichever one of us brings a pet topic for the evening. That'll be how we close out the night. So we will be getting right into that after the hot take happy hour, which brings me to the hot take happy hour, David. So let's throw that thing together. We've got a few topics scrolling across so you can keep up with what in the hell are these guys talking about. David added stuff to this I hadn't even seen yet. Now I don't even understand what some of these are. Actually, I'm going to get nitpicky for a second and fix one thing. David is not as anal about it as me. There we go. Got it fixed. He missed a space. So, yeah, so here's what's going on in the world in short form. This is how we open the show now. We do a little bit of bantering about current topics of the day or recent topics. So, yeah, well, it happened. We covered most of it last week. We had an election. We had an erection.
We were definitely thoroughly inebriated late at night to watch it.
Yeah, and then as of like 20, 30 minutes ago or some shit, we found out that the Republicans hit the edge of getting the majority in the House, which is going to be an extremely thin House majority.
I gotta be honest, I'm not worried about it simply because the MTGs, the Lauren Bobberts, the Matt Gaetzes of the Republican Party are going to try and derail things so badly that I don't think, even if McCarthy holds on to the speakership, even if he holds on to his position as leader, I don't think they'll be able to truly hold it. Like, I don't really feel like this is a majority. I feel like Nancy Pelosi is enough. I mean, I'll criticize Nancy Pelosi for a lot of her policy positions, but I can't criticize her for not being an amazing politician who can take a lot of disparate elements and get them all moving together in the same direction. Mm-hmm. I don't think McCarthy is not that sort of guy. I don't think he'll be able to keep everyone on side. I think that the Republican Party, especially right now, as it edges further into its own little civil war, which we'll talk about later, I don't think this is really a Republican majority. I feel like this again, as I always like to say, we don't have a two-party system, we have a two-coalition system, and I don't think McCarthy has adequate control over his coalition.
Right. I think that he's not a strong enough leader in any sense as a person. Like, even if he weren't conservative, I would feel like he's not a strong enough leader to manage in the way that you would have to manage to make that thin majority actually serve you. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. I got some comments. I'm going to have to see some of what you're talking about, John. I don't know if I did see it, this video.
We've all been bombarding Lucas with random
Brian,
stuff to read.
Mitch is in the Senate. Mitch has theoretically received leader status, but minority leader status, but there's a lot of dissent. I think the dissent is what's working. Basically, we're seeing a slow motion, incremental, bit by bit version of what I thought we would see during the Trump years proper. I thought we would see this like absolute collapse, bottom falling out of the barrel. Like the Republicans, to me, were like going to be an overloaded balcony at a shitty nightclub, and it was just going to one day just go bam and just fuck everybody. And instead, it's more like a cup of lemonade tea from a fast food joint that's been sitting around too long, and the bottom is kind of like starting to turn brown and leak, and it's just gradually starting to fall out. And I feel like that's what we're seeing is these unmanageables in these weird dissenting whack jobs.
Yeah, and again,
they'll lose. Lauren Boebert's only up by like under 2,000 votes, or under.
Nah, I don't know. I don't know if there's enough vote left there to kick her out.
Boy,
I kind of doubt it.
I hope so for all the reasons, including her showing up in an Orlando hotel with a Brazzers crew in the future. So,
you know she would too.
I thought there was some kind of scandal about her doing something in the past, but I don't remember.
No, she used to be a sex worker.
Well, I mean, she probably was successful at it.
That's how she got into politics. Do you not know this story? So apparently, she was an escort for a wealthy Republican donor, and he brought her to a party gathering, and she met Ted Cruz and struck up a conversation with Ted Cruz. I don't know, probably looking for her next John, and
right.
Because who else would fuck Ted Cruz? I'm pretty sure he has to pay his wife. That's
no. Why do that? The dollar goes further in Cancun.
She apparently struck up a conversation with Ted Cruz, and Ted Cruz.
You got Brian's attention with sex worker and Lauren Boebert.
Yeah, apparently Ted Cruz ushered her through the nomination process and getting her the right handshakes in the Colorado Republican Party, and that's how she ended up running for federal U.S. Congress.
This is my entirely shocked face. So tell us about the Yoda doll market. That's the thing that David threw in here. I didn't see it until I put it on the screen. Like, what the fuck? So what is this about?
I think we can all agree that crypto is finally dead. The last of the major exchanges, FTX, the owner has now it's now been revealed that he was embezzling from the company.
Yep.
I mean, every time we turn around, there's another crypto scandal. And
John's going to take issue with your.
And I'm sorry, John. Crypto is not a real thing. Crypto is a collectible. It is the same as baseball cards.
That's why
as Yoda dolls.
Okay.
Crypto will never be a real currency. The only sovereign country that has tried to implement it, El Salvador. I recently was reading an article about a journalist going there and trying to see how El Salvador has adopted crypto. No one's using it, right? Even in a country that has said crypto is the same as our currency and we want to build a whole infrastructure, and they have kind of built an infrastructure to make crypto their currency. I'm sorry, the U.S. dollar does not bounce up and down like this. The Japanese yen does not bounce up and down like this. The Chinese yuan does not bounce up and down like this. Not even the Russian ruble right now is bouncing because it's not accepted as payment for a lot
we're probably going to have to eventually have that like 3-person crypto discussion panel and get John on here to defend his turf. I don't know if the exchange thing matters as much as the peer-to-peer thing. And
the exchanges matter.
I don't care. But,
the exchanges matter because that's most often how you convert your crypto into currency. Because currency actually buys things. Crypto is a collectible. You buy the collectible. You see where it goes up or down, and then you sell your collectible. It's not currency.
I can't
sorry,
wait.
crypto-
We're gonna
crypto is
have the
dead.
great crypto debate. It's gonna be like a whole special.
There's no valid exchanges anymore for them to trade it on. I'm sorry.
Now that boring politics is cool again, maybe we can afford a week where we can just say, you know what, we're gonna do the crypto discussion.
That's fair. I'm more than happy to do it. I've done the crypto discussion before. I'm more than happy to revisit it again and point out that crypto will never be anything other than a collectible.
Well, I mean, it's among a group of agreeing parties.
It's like gold. No, I mean, it's the same idea as buying gold, right? You cannot take your Krugerrand into your pizza joint and have them be like, oh, yes, of course I can split that gold coin into something. Like, no one's ever going to do that. Gold is a collectible. Silver's a collectible. Platinum's a collectible. When you buy it as specie. Like, you could buy gold as a commodity. Like, hey, I need to make gold wire. Okay. But, I mean, in many ways, that makes gold more valuable than crypto because gold can actually be sold on an exchange, whereas every exchange that's handling crypto right now is crashing and burning. Even the crypto coins that they pegged to the value of the dollar, like stablecoin and Terra coin, which are like, we will always set the value of Terra coin and stablecoin to the value of the US dollar. People wouldn't even want those.
Brian,
right? You know what, Brian?
Monkey.
It's
All right. We can dive into this one in the great crypto debate. Let's jump into the next one on the list. And for this, I've brought a little show and tell. I have some show and tell for a couple of these tonight that come right off the top, and I think it's going to be some entertainment for some folks. So you heard me talking a lot about it, and it wasn't something we knew on the show until I woke up the next morning to see the results. And by a very thin margin of 352 votes, the crooked little shit Drew Robbins beat my favorite commissioner here in Grand Rapids and in my ward to become the commissioner-elect to take his place. I'm pretty pissed about it. I was heartbroken about it that morning. And last night at the commission meeting, I addressed that topic. And I also addressed a couple of the other topics of the general results of the election that I left in this clip just because it's so fucking funny. But one thing that I really enjoy is understanding where the camera is in that chamber. So I went a little bit pro wrestler on Drew fucking Robbins last night in the city commission. I'm going to play that clip for you right now.
Oh, there's a saying, if you can't come straight, you got to come crooked. Based on the election last week in the first ward, crooked wins in Grand Rapids. Kurt Reppert is the latest victim of collusion between the crooked police union and a hypocritical chamber of commerce and a lying power elite upholding an over 100-year-old tradition of screwing regular working folks in this town. Now we know how much a seat on this commission costs in dark, dirty money, and it's a number approaching $100,000. I'm livid, as are about 7,600 other First Ward residents that Drew Robbins now has to find a way to build a bridge to. The buck stops with you, Drew. What are you going to do to make peace? What about yours and Josh Lunger's dishonesty? You get to start that conversation. It's on you, brother, and I hope you're watching. Now, the election results weren't all bad, though. The second and third ward saw old school politics and DeVos puppetry defeated in a trouncing. And a community activist got the most votes for school board. All three amendments passed in the state, including adding protection for abortion rights to our state constitution. That's right, folks. The red wave turned out to be a bit more trickle down. Or maybe the red wave has not yet arrived. Maybe it's a little late. Don't worry if that late red wave runs into a bigger problem, Republicans, because luckily you now live into a state that protected your right to choose how to handle it. We live in a state that's protected your right, and we can recommend some clinics for you.
Tee. So, right after that, I laid into that fucker behind me, Daniel Scutt, which I mispronounced his name because it's spelled shut. And then the mayor got onto me for using his name and talking about him in my remarks. But the thing that she's missing is that he's the fucker she beat to get elected mayor, which means he was a candidate for public office, which means he's fair game. to discuss in the chamber where the office that he ran exists.
I mean, I think that's fair.
Yeah. So we'll see how that goes in a couple of weeks when I come back with a few more choice words. Brian, nice burns. Thank you, sir. I've been collecting Red Wave jokes for about a week and a half just for that. So anyway, up next, what was our up next? It was the Canadian teacher thing. So David has been parking on this one because this landed in an unfortunate bubble of time when there was a lot of other shit going on, things to talk about. But there's some lessons to take away from the Canadian teacher strike that you wanted to throw into the mix.
Yeah, so, I mean, this actually ended last week. The teachers went on strike for 4 days, came back on. But one of the things that prefaced this strike was the provincial government in Ontario passed a law that stripped the teachers of their right to strike. And they were able to do this because the Canadian Constitution, the Charter, as they call it, has this really weird provision that's, you look at them and you're like, you really shouldn't have put this in. Canadian history being what it is, it was part of the deal that they had to make between provinces about that were going to sign on to this. They felt they had to include this because they couldn't get anything firm enough written into the charter, and it's called the Notwithstanding Clause. And the Notwithstanding Clause basically says that any Canadian legislature, provincial legislature, can pass something that blatantly violates the charter as long as it has to stand for another vote within 5 years. Yeah.
Okay.
It's cool. Yeah, it's sort of like, did you really make a constitution, or did you just sort of... So they were able to pass this bill.
They're more guidelines than rules.
Right? I mean, at that point, it really is. It really is a skit from Pirates of the Caribbean. So they passed a law that said if the teachers struck, then each individual teacher would be fined 4,000 Canadian for every day that they were striking, and the union would be fined 1.2 million Canadian for every day that they were striking. So all sum and told, we're looking at like
$500 American.
Yeah, right. We're looking at like $500 American per day for the whole thing.
Here all night.
But the lesson learned from this is, if the Canadians are willing to do this, a Canadian legislature is willing to do this, what are Republicans willing to do? And it brings home the fact that, Tennessee just passed this right to work amendment to the Constitution, which basically says that no employer or union can enforce a union shop or enforce a union contract in the state of Tennessee. The only threat that unions can offer now is striking, and that's it. And employers can protect themselves from strikes by simply making a point of not hiring union workers.
Yeah.
Just like Amazon has tried to incentivize its workers, or more importantly, Starbucks has tried to build this dual system where if you voted for a union in your Starbucks, you're not eligible for these pay raises that they're trying to push to other stores. Of course, the stores that unionized will get paid more when all is said and done, but it's going to take time. But I mean, these are the sorts of things that corporations are looking at right now to bust unions, and we need to start being prepared in America for a new round of union busting, especially as unions continue to grow. Right now, Elon Musk's gigabattery plant is preparing for a union vote. Despite his attempts to keep the union out of the Tesla factory, they're moving forward, trying to build a union vote. And Amazon is still having to fight across the country in each warehouse by warehouse, to try and fight the union from showing up there. we have a lot of corporations right now that are very afraid of workers unionizing. And the takeaway from the Canadian teacher strike was even supposedly more moderate governments like Canada can do this. Now, I want to point out the end result was that the law was so infuriating to so many that so many unions signed up to strike in solidarity with the teachers that the Ontario Provincial Assembly had no choice but to roll back the law. They did, however, build a caveat, which is we'll only roll back the law if you re-enter negotiations.
Right.
And so the strike ended, and they went back to negotiations. But just to tell you how stupid where the Ontario provincial government was starting, was a 2% raise.
Olivia is in here weaving all the topics together now.
Yeah, well, no, and that actually has been a big point, is that a lot of the teachers were asking for more money, in part because, hey, John, when FTX went under, the Ontario Teachers Pension Fund had invested somewhere around the realm of $500 million Canadian. So again, like, we're looking at what, like $2 million American. In FTX when it went down. And again, currencies don't just crash like that if they're actual currencies, and not a collectible.
Well, speaking of failing in front of everyone, we're going to talk about this more in the pet topic closing out the show. But my other set of visual aids that I've brought to the mix tonight matches up with our last topic in the hot take happy hour. So we're gonna come in hot out of the hot take happy hour. So
YouTube is going to come after us for this one.
this morning, there was a memo apparently circulated by Musk at Twitter saying, unless you are prepared to work really hard and around the clock and do hardcore work and all this stuff, basically hardcore Twitter has been the phrase of the day. His whole idea was, unless you're going to be hardcore with me, then you have to leave and take your 3-month severance. And my thinking on that is that every single fucking person should take the severance and go. And
right, flee, run away right now.
And let's see how they pay that out. Fuck up the company and leave him standing there holding his dick with no one else to do anything. And see how good he is at doing it by himself. So this evening I started poking around preparing for the show, and I Googled the phrase hardcore Twitter. You can always count on the internet to deliver, especially if your image searches are set to not safe for work permissible. So I found a glorious library, because if you leave it to the internet to take a phrase like hardcore Twitter into the fan art category, you come up with some gems, and I've assembled a little gallery of hardcore Twitter in celebration of Elon Musk's dumbass latest move. And I'm going to share those with you now. Barely censored enough to keep us from being entirely deleted. So let's take a journey together, kids, into hardcore Twitter. So this was one of my favorites. That's some hardcore tweeting going on. David hasn't seen all these, so the best part is that we get to hear him react in real time. So here are a few other favorites.
Oh, Jesus. We're so getting banned. We're so getting banned. Oh, my God.
A little more hardcore Twitter. Oh, let's see Olivia is cracking up at that because he sounds like 12. We got to go hardcore, guys. Yep. Well, here we are. We are definitely going hardcore now.
Jesus.
And then to finish it all off, I found these two. So activate your night mode.
Oh, my God.
So there we go.
So
hardcore Twitter for you.
Oh,
yeah, and of course, none of this would be Brian, you need my credit card number now. Yes,
yes.
We've got all of these young, willing, able, feathered blue anthropomorphs standing by to take your calls. None of this would be complete, of course, if we didn't close this happy hour out with the obligatory boner alert. Hate boner alert. David's favorite mortal enemy.
So, I mean, for those of you who have been following the Twitter saga, so after Musk bought them and fired their staff, he then fired most of their most experienced coders. Then he went through... I want to point out, if any of you all have ever worked on a Windows machine and you hit Control-Alt-Delete, right? And it brings up the task manager. And it shows you a bunch of things that are running. And you can actually do the same thing on a Apple machine. It just takes another couple of steps. And I've had to do that when I've realized that someone installed the rootkit on my machine. Be like, nope, that needs to come off. But, you know, he basically hit Control-Alt-Delete. I feel like he might have actually just done that. He might have just hit Control-Alt-Delete on the Twitter servers plural, and looked at the tasks that were running and was like, wow, we have a bunch of stuff that I don't think we need. Now, see, when the average user does this, and they go in and they just start killing tasks, right?
Yeah, right.
For the most, you have about a 75% likelihood of not doing anything absolutely destructive. But there's that 25% chance that you're going to hit one of those essential services that your computer needs to run, right? Apple generally tries to prevent you from doing that, which is why they hide that function. Because Apple likes to stupid-proof their machines, and I actually appreciate them stupid-proofing their machines. Because since I'm not stupid, I can go in, or most of the time I'm not stupid, I can go in and understand what I'm doing because I had to actually work to find the place where I could access it. But since everyone knows Control-Alt-Delete on a Windows machine, so he went through and he just started shutting off services. He shut off 80% of their services, saying, oh, well, this is all bloatware. Well, the fun part of what he did was he made it so that all those people who had two-factor authentication turned on, well, it would still require two-factor authentication, but the service that was supposed to hand you the second authentication number, it's just turned off. Now, that was just like, that's the smallest instance. Olivia points out the verified accounts one where everything went to hell. Actually, one of the
First
things
of all,
that
the idea of having that as a paid option is just so corny because first, like, the people mostly that have a verified account argue, was it $8 a month or one time?
$8 a month.
I mean, I don't know what it should be a month, but $8 is too cheap. Like, you're talking about celebrities, you're talking about news outlets. Like, if you're going to monetize that function, you would.
Well, no, he said it to $8 a month because Stephen King told him to go fuck himself.
Oh, Jesus, whatever. What a clown.
Right. Well, I mean,
it would be so much easier if he just stepped out in front of the wrong fucking train.
It really would be at this point because now he's very likely to lose Twitter and his entire fortune because one of the things that happened when he did this verified account thing, Lockheed Martin and Eli Lilly are apparently going to be the ones first at bat. So they allowed someone to impersonate Eli Lilly, which is a major pharmaceutical company. They got on to Twitter and announced that insulin was now going to be free. Do you want to know how much money Eli Lilly lost in stock value in 10 minutes? Take a guess, Lucas.
Oh, I can't, but
throw out a number.
I'm thinking back through all my parody Twitter accounts and how many of them I should revisit.
Right, but think of how much money Eli Lilly lost in 10 minutes. Just throw out a number.
$2 billion.
No. More. Much more. They lost nearly $5 billion in market cap in 10 minutes after that tweet. Then Lockheed Martin, someone impersonating Lockheed Martin, announced that Lockheed Martin was going to stop making weapons. What happened to Lockheed Martin's share price? Off. And like you can see it. It goes straight off a cliff.
He's kind of opened up the door to the same kinds of trolls from whence he came. That's the neat part.
He really has. But the problem is Eli Lilly has already announced that they're going to sue him into oblivion.
Good. Fuck him.
I mean, they're going to sue him for billions of dollars that he can't afford, right?
Good. I can't wait.
And it's insanity.
Put him and Trump in the same suite, and let's see who makes it out alive. Anyway,
I'd rather imagine they'll just end up sucking each other's dicks.
Oh God, it's time to drink. Time to kick it off. Let's dive into the big topic of the evening. Before we can do that, we got to ask the very critical question: what you drinking? So who goes first, David?
I'll go because I just poured mine.
Cool.
So I don't know if you can see this. This is Deadwood's
Deadwords.
God Complex. Deadwords, sorry. Deadwords Brewing Company. I know I've been going on about them ad infinitum when I was in...
it's bubbly. I know that's a good win for you.
Yeah, it is definitely bubbly. I normally prefer bubbly. It actually lost its head rather quickly. It just continues to bubble very nicely. Again, I'm normally not a sour fan. This is an Imperial Sour. So this is going to help kick my ass because I actually started off the evening with an Imperial IPA. So I'm going to be talking
so I really
shit
need
and
to be
falling
watching
over.
the clock because you're going to be super verbose tonight.
Right? I'm going to be so drunk. No, it does. It's got
I don't know
kind
if
of
I've
a
had
peachy
golden
flavor.
sour, but I don't like the word that you could easily accidentally put in there. This thing is
but
just
it's-
one mispronunciation from a Russian cassette.
Oh, dude, I'm not. I had to have an entire conversation at work about that exact topic today, so I don't even want to go into it. Yeah.
Why was pee on your mind? Did someone order a Budweiser?
No. Server life is strange, and when you have to deal with their drama, it gets stranger.
That's fair. So anyway, do you like it?
It's got a nice peachy flavor. You know what this reminds me of? It reminds me of a stronger Magic Hat number 9.
Okay, all right.
So for those of you who've never had Magic Hat number 9, Magic Hat number 9 is this really very easy drinking apricot pale ale from Magic Hat Brewing. It's kind of one of those things that you normally would see in a grocery store. Like if I have to go pick up like a 12-pack or a 6-pack of something to bring to a party, I'll normally bring that as my bait beer to protect my good beer. I brought here have a Magic Hat. Because here's the thing: if I run out of my beer and I have to start drinking my bait beer, I might as well like my bait beer.
Fair enough.
So
would you say that it is flavorful and complex pucker? Because that's the description that I'm getting on Untapped.
yes, I would. I will say
you've won the vote of Olivia because it's a Vermont beer. So
Deadwords isn't Magic Hat number 9 is
the Magic Hat reference. Yeah.
No, it is. It does have a little bit of pucker. Actually, compared to how ambiguous I think they were about this sour. I'm liking it a lot more than I feared I would.
I don't think I've ever had that. It sounds interesting. It could be. I might hate it because I'm not a very big sour guy, which is funny.
Well, I mean, again, if you like Magic Hat number 9, you'll like this.
The one I'm about to jump into is a sour, so
it's. I would argue that this is basically a better version of Magic Hat number 9. Is what they've made here. It's sour on the tongue. It's much more sour. Like it definitely grabs the tongue, but like the first flavor impressions are very smooth. It does not reach up and grab you at any single point. It's when it settles in on the end after you like your mouth dries up a little. That's when it hits you. It does not attack.
Well, it's an 8% and it runs a 3.9 rating. Sounds like it's well received, and it sounds like it could be tasty. I'll have to try that sometime.
I wonder how.
I forgot. Do they do bottles and cans, or were they a growler crowler place?
They don't even do growlers. They are part of that movement that says that bottling beer is wrong and blasphemous. So they will not do growlers, which I argue very strongly. I argue very strongly that a growler is one of the most traditional forms, especially in America, of delivering beer.
Beer to take home,
right? I mean, considering
them for a growler, or how did you get it home? I mean,
so they do these crowlers. They
do the crowler. Okay.
Yeah, they do a crowler, but they will not do a growler, right? And they can it. They will not fill. They will not fill a growler. They have their own canning facility right there, it's a little canning setup.
Well, yeah.
Right? Well, they'll do it right there behind the bar.
Hold that sucker up. Let's look at that. Since you actually have a package, let's see that thing.
Yeah.
I love it. It's right in line with that whole brand. They've got such a if you missed the
show, their brand is spot on.
Edwards, it was pretty cool.
Their brand, even their quick logo, their quick little seal, is
right on theme.
I gotta say they even like their where it says crowler,
yeah,
right, with that
do a good job with it.
Variation, yeah, that kerning that they've got right there, and font selection, it's all great. It's all great. Everything that they do is fantastic. The main thing that I'm hoping
David's new favoriteest place at this point.
It really is. I'm like, I need you all to be in Nashville. I need Alex to show up at Red so I can start telling him and be like, they're not distributing yet, but I need you to go start buying their stuff as soon as they do start distributing.
Right.
But I mean, they're such a great outfit. My hope for them is that soon they have their space around them to expand. Right now, they're in a part of Orlando that is 12 South before it got gentrified. So there's like abandoned buildings around them that they'd like to expand to, and I'm hoping that they do. But they did point out, like, yeah, did you notice the security gates at the parking lot entrance? I'm like, yeah, I just thought like maybe there was a garage or something. It's like, no, we have to like wrap the building in barbed wire at night.
Nice. Well, real quick before I jump in, I want to throw this one up that Livia was talking about here. I bought a sour recently called Volcano Sauce. I feel like I've had Volcano Sauce. This description makes me also feel like I've had it. It tastes more like Hawaiian Punch than it has any right to, and it's really delicious. I feel like I've had it somewhere, but I can't think of where in the world I would have encountered it. It's Arlington, I think, brewery. So I don't know. I was looking it up, trying to figure that out. I don't know where I would have had it.
Arlington, Virginia.
Yummy. So, David, I am jumping in at the beginning with my sea salted cherry from New Union. It's a fruit beer. Slightly sour is the description, so it's 4.9%. It's got the same rating as the one you just said, 3.9. Slightly sour light ale brewed with the addition of sea salt and fresh cherry harvested from northern Michigan. And these guys are based like 10 minutes right outside Grand Rapids in Lowell. They, along the same lines as what you just showed, have a cool can label that's handwritten, but they actually do these little pint guys right there. Oh. It's not a crowler; it's just a can.
Nice. That sucks for the guy who has to write that on all the cans, but
it's actually a cool little place. They don't really have very much room. It's like one dude.
Okay.
I don't know if it's
that sucks even more. Actually,
I don't know if it's just one guy, but it was one guy at the time, and I would say that the place probably seats 20 inside, maybe another 20 outside, but he had just like a bar with 6 or 8 people sitting at it when I walked in, and they just had to scribble that part on there. But I really like the fact that it's a nice stylized, like there's a little bit of a shiny kind of a ghost logo. It's just well conceived, and if they had food, we'd have stayed there and had food. Instead, I picked up a couple of these, and I would say going in, you pick up the salt coming at you. A little bit through the nose, you pick up the salt coming your way. But as soon as it hits, it's the tart and the cherry. The salt.
I kind of want to try that. Like that. I kind of want to try that. Especially a salt-forward beer. That sounds
Salt-forward
intriguing.
on the nose, but as soon
Yeah.
as it hits, the salt disappears for a second, so you get to dance around with that tart cherry thing, and then afterward you can tell that there's a saltiness. It's almost like being in a saltwater environment with like an open can of something, and you get a little ocean water in it, and you don't give a shit because you're already drunk or something. Like basically, there's a little bit of a tone. It's not like, oh my god, that's salty. It's not like like a salted caramel kind of like right up front obvious thing. Olivia says the packaging is hideous. I'm thinking you're referring to the volcano sauce.
Yeah, she's referring to the volcano sauce.
Yeah, I did say that. See the can.
I got to be honest though. Between y'all's description of this volcano sauce stuff, it really makes me reminds me of like Hunch Punch from college.
Maybe. Could be. I don't know. Anyway, I would recommend these guys as a great stop by and try it out place, just because it was so intimate and chill out, and it seemed like there were a lot of regulars that were very loyal to it. And it's a small town anyway, but like it's a town that you could you live in and you could commute over to Grand Rapids real quick. Beautiful place. Really enjoyed the visit there to their little downtown and then their riverfront park. Very nice. Lowell is a nice place, and it's great that they have this brewery. This was the one that I think I alluded to when I talked about we went to Big Boiler, and I was very disappointed. And I think I showed some photos of that one. I don't have photos of this one because I didn't really stay, but I'm sure I'll pick up some at some point. So, obviously, if you've been here before, you know what to expect. You know that we give our man Brian a little space here.
Oh wait, I forgot about that. Nope, it's not main topic time.
We gotta have Brian in with the review of his non-liquid refreshment of the evening. So it's Kitchen Sink from True Leave, Indica leaning hybrid, 27%. Not recommended for amateurs. I love it when he gets into the commentary piece. The data piece is fun, but Brian's commentaries are always the best. People that drive minivans, it tastes great, less filling. It sneaks up on you like a stalker in the park, but in the good way.
Right.
Oh, you got to see.
There's a good way. I mean, I didn't know there was a good way, but apparently, I guess I'm not going to kink shame.
I was just about to say maybe some more playing, David. You don't know. That's great. Both of our sick minds went to the same spot. So let's dive into it. Let's talk about it. Let's tackle the elephant, so to speak, in the room. The lack of a red wave, but the dust settling now from the election. So we've got kind of, I guess, two lanes that this rides, right? The election results itself and the Trump factor.
Right.
So let's talk about the election results itself.
Which I actually think they have to be. They're linked. Like they're very closely linked.
Well, they are closely linked. The the barely majority in the House. We talked about that earlier, and that's not going to be very effective. We talked about the Senate, and that's probably not going to be very effective. But what I'm really the most gratified by is it seems like regular, reasonable people said, hold the fuck up. This is getting out of hand. Let's split some votes. Let's vote around to people that we think are reasonable. And let's get this shit back on track. And I loved the phrase boring election being so frequent and so many people saying, who would have thought a boring, regular old election would be such a relief? And I think that's, for the most part, that's pretty true. I'm really, really happy about John Fetterman. I hope his recovery continues and he gets back to full fet, so to speak. And I hope he always wears a fucking black hoodie every fucking wear. I thought it was great that he gave his pointed out speech in a hoodie.
He showed up to the Capitol in a suit and tie, but people have been like, he's got to start rocking the hoodie blazer combo.
I like it. That works.
But the only problem is that's going to immediately lead to like connections between Dave Chappelle's crackhead character.
Right? Yeah. Brian says we had just enough red to tell me that America isn't pregnant. I love it. Don't hate me. I'm carny.
Carny folk.
I love
Yes.
that too.
Oh.
I think reasonable people took the wheel, so to speak. Now, I was really ready, David, to give myself a little credit because I'm always on here, drawing the generational battle lines. I was really ready to come in here and praise Gen Z and Gen Y for showing up. And then NPR destroyed the statistics and proved that it really wasn't any one thing. It wasn't that the young vote showed up and saved the day. It was that the young vote didn't fucking disappear like it typically does in a midterm.
Yep.
And all the other segments came out as well. So essentially this shit brought women out in force. It kept young people plugged in. It kept old folks involved that are tired of the bullshit. It was a very interesting midterm coalition of happenstance that led to a lot of great stuff. I mean, holy shit. The 5 states either protected or defended the right.
Even Kentucky.
Even
Kentucky.
Right. Like there were some really bright lights in all this. And I got to point out that Brian, totally right. Fetterman dresses like the airlines lost.
So I read an article today. One of the things that apparently stood out to the DNC the night of the election was my favorite girl,
oh, Jesus.
Spanberger.
God damn it. I thought we would at least get to the part about whether Biden should run or not before you would evoke your milquetoast, boring, nerdy deep dives on candidates. Go ahead.
Apparently, they had Spanberger as their bellwether, right? If Spanberger goes down, then we know we're in for a bad night. But when Spanberger showed up with a solid 8-point lead right out of the gate, right as polling closed, they're like, holy shit, we might have actually fucking pulled this off. And the fact that her lead only diminished by 5 points,
right,
or down to 5 points rather, at close. I mean, the fact that they were able to call Spanberger's district almost immediately for Spanberger them was the sign that went up. Slotkin is one out of Michigan. And again, they were worried about Slotkin because Slotkin stole a seat from the Republicans in 2 years ago. And Slotkin, again, no problem. In fact, you actually ended up with a Democratic legislature in the state house.
I live in a blue state now. And I couldn't be happier because I already knew I was getting an upgrade of governors when I got here.
Well, I mean,
here's the thing, David. This midterm was the best turnout in history in the state of Michigan for voter participation.
Oh, you want to know how many people voted in the state of
there's an and. Mm-hmm. This is the first trifecta of government in this state that the Democrats have enjoyed in 40 years. So we've got the governor, the legislature on both houses, and then on top of that, the icing on the cake is we've got the DA. Oh no, the AG. Sorry, the AG and the Secretary of State. None of the Republican election denier nutbags got that either. So essentially, the apparatus in this state is built so that progressives can actually push some shit through, do some shit. But you know me, my faith is always very low because progressives know how to completely fuck up a silver platter.
They can. They definitely can. Do you want to know how many people in my state of 15 million decided to show up and vote?
Not a lot.
No, not a lot at all. A little over 1.5 million. Basically 1 in 10 Tennesseans voted.
Ugh.
1 in 10. 10% of the population showed up to vote.
Brian points out an important factor as well: the number of Republicans who voted their party, but not the entire ticket, and that's what I pointed out a little bit when I referred to the the crossovers. I can't complain if the current state of affairs in America is that people weave all over the ballot toward the most reasonable thing.
In Georgia,
American majorities are going to remain reasonable.
In Georgia, that had nothing to do with party. That those 300,000 votes were due to in Georgia were due to one thing. Herschel Walker's black.
That's a good point. Maybe.
No, it's Georgia.
Thing, though, David.
You know, there's at least 300,000 Klansmen in Georgia, or
racist. But if you look at it, Kemp comes down as a not wild-eyed, crazy fuck up Republican.
No, he's still. Do you remember his campaign commercials? No, he's a nutter.
He's not that far off that deep end. He doesn't the election count.
He doesn't govern. He doesn't govern like. Well, no. The only reason Kemp didn't make Georgia go for Trump is because Trump expected Kemp to bend down and kiss the ring, and Kemp reminded him, "I'm the governor of goddamn motherfucking Georgia. You can kiss my ass for my state," and Trump wouldn't do it. Which is the only reason we ended up with that scenario at all, is Trump's ego ran into the traditional ego of Georgia politicians in the South, which is
that's reasonable.
Which is Trump would not kiss Kemp's ring, and Kemp was sure as fuck not going to kiss Trump's ring because again Kemp looks around and says, "I am bordered by a meth lab, a barely contained penal colony of Klansmen."
Wait a minute. Wait, hold on. What's the meth lab? Is that Tennessee?
Florida.
Oh, Florida. Okay. And the penal colony is Mississippi, right?
Yeah, penal colony there. Something that is largely irrelevant. That's South Carolina. And Tennessee, who doesn't care anyway.
Largely irrelevant. I love it.
Largely irrelevant. I mean, like, what are you going to do? As far as the governor of Georgia is concerned, he's the king of the fucking South.
Right.
Right? And
I do want to point out.
So you come and kiss his ring. And Trump wouldn't do it.
Brian gives credit to the Democrats for trying to push the elect the nutter strategy. I'm not 100% sure.
I am
that was still that great of an idea. I think it was a Hail Mary and a good bet that turned out to work.
No, I think that's always a good strategy, and here's why. Because Republicans have been trying to do that to Democrats for years. It is pushing in the primary someone who they know is unelectable. They tried to do it with Sanders and Hillary. They tried to do it with. They even tried to do it with Obama. Right, they thought Obama was unelectable, and so they tried to push Obama over Hillary. In many instances, that did backfire.
I was expecting a lot of backfire, and I
think here's the thing.
I didn't get on board that train.
In Arizona, any Republican except for Kari Lake should have won. Kari Lake, who stood up in front of CPAC and pronounced that she was the slayer of the McCain political machine, however, you better believe the McCain political machine decided to show up and explain to her who fucking owns Bartertown.
That's for fucking that nasty bitch. That's I really don't give a rat's ass about governors on the whole. But that bitch is somebody that I was really glad.
No, I mean, Cindy McCain showed up to Hobbs's. Cindy McCain explicitly put that McCain political machine behind Hobbs. Hobbs, who quite frankly could put a room of coke addicts to sleep. And Cindy McCain showed up and said, looked Carrie Lake in the eye and went, "Who runs Bartertown? Who runs Bartertown?
Say my name, bitch. Yeah.
Who runs Bartertown?
Yeah.
Say it. Cindy McCain runs Bartertown."
That's funny. Well, you know what? I'm glad. I'm glad that things turned out the way they did. And here's something else I'm glad about. I'm glad about Biden's little victory lap. I think his press conference was a pretty damn fine press conference, and I wish he would muster more of them.
That wasn't. I want to be clear. I didn't feel like that was a victory lap because if we have to be honest,
I think it was
he still lost the House.
Measured victory lap.
No,
I think it was the rough equivalent of a hockey coach who is in a series. They just won game 2. No, they just won game 3, but they've only won 2 out of the 3. Like, it was measured, and it was not oorah, ha ha ha, booyah, nanny nanny boo boo.
No, I mean it was understated.
Like, hey, we did better than you thought we would did. And I really liked how he threw it in the media's face. Like, y'all didn't think we could do that, did you? Bitch.
You know what I feel like it was? I feel like it was if like you'd walked up to somebody in a bar, looked at their beer on the bar, smashed it on the ground, and taken your thumb and wet your thumb in the beer on the ground, and then went up to them and went, "Simba."
That's a lot more ballsy than what I feel like he delivered.
I feel like that's what it was, which was, listen, you all kept on crowing about how you're going to take 60 seats, and I just screwed. And I'm going to give my quick breakdown of why I think the Republicans didn't do as well as they thought they were going to do. Number one, Dobbs. I've kept on preaching, and I will continue to preach. It is the dog finally catching the car, and I told you all
no fear,
years.
Man.
I kept on telling you all for months it was going to be the dog catching the car.
You're right,
and here it is. It's the dog finally catching the car. If they strike down Roe v. Wade, well, the dog caught the car.
Thunk, just like, I mean, that puppy went all the way Lampoon Vacation on that car.
Number two, you can crow about inflation and how bad it is, but you actually have. Here's one of the things that I think where younger voters are more impactful sometimes than older voters is younger voters are like, okay, yes, inflation is very, very fucking bad. We should do something about that. What are you going to do? Crickets.
Yeah, you're going to do nothing. You're just going to
nothing.
say,
and here's the thing.
We'll do better. And then you're going to say, hey, one solution is we take away the only reasonable hope you have for retirement plans.
Right. I mean, it makes no sense. They failed utterly because I'll be honest, as a millennial voter, and them been like, oh, we're gonna kill Social Security. I mean, like, who's gonna pay for mom? I can't pay for mom. Mm-hmm. So Security's supposed to pay for mom. Mm-hmm. And, you know, it's that entire scenario. So the Republicans showed up expecting just to simply, like, you know, to put it in wrestling.
Biden's bad and high.
To put it in wrestling terms, they expected to show up and Ric Flair Nature Boy their way through the moment.
Woo!
Simply being like, I'm Ric Flair Nature Boy. Of
right.
course I'm like, and they had nothing. The third thing that I think Republicans really screwed up on is they did not, and it was obvious from the beginning when Rick Scott tried to put out his early congressional agenda message, which basically slashed entitlements, did all this, and then McConnell had to call him up and be like, "Excuse me, I would like to not die. Mm-hmm. You need to pull that the hell off." There was no real functionality on the Republican side. The fact that Rick Scott was being called out early on for just randomly spending money on GOP grifters who were showing up with their hands out, which I feel is one of the purposes now of the Republican Party is we simply take donor money and hand it to con artists.
Right.
That's what we do. We expect to be able to buy results, and people figured out you all don't actually know what those look like, do you? Mm-hmm. So I can just show up with a plate of spaghetti and tell you that it's, I don't know, curry. And he'll be like, does curry look like that? Yes, it does.
Yeah, totally.
And you'll pay me to buy my curry, which is a plate of ketchup and noodles with some ground up, hamburger helper in there. I mean,
So here's what I would say, like, since they are the, Biden sucks party, what I really liked about that press conference was the Q&A. I think the Q&A in that press conference was an example of what Biden needs to do more of. Because when he's in his natural state talking to reporters, it's clear that he's not a riddled with dementia, out of touch, weird, like not able to function, barely propped up guy like they try to paint him. He is engaged. He is dynamically involved in the conversation. He's cracking jokes. I loved the one about, what would you say to a Trump and DeSantis matchup? He's like, it's going to be fun to watch him fight. And just all the different fun ways that he was back and forth with the room. We saw the real Biden with some controls because he's still not gaffing left and right. He's still trying to stick to the talking points. But
yeah, which, you know what? Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Uncle Joe, for sticking to the talking points. I appreciate that.
Yeah. We're still
the stock
wondering,
market tends to keep value.
We're still wondering where the footlocker is that you've locked Kamala in. But other than that, here's the funny thing, dude. Speaking of that, I've been hearing from multiple different political coverage that Kamala Harris was out on the trail hitting the ground in a whole bunch of places.
She was.
Where the fuck was the footage of that? No one knew that was happening.
No, I think the media has determined that they just don't like her.
I guess. No one covered it. The party didn't publicize it. Like,
no, they didn't. I mean, here's the thing.
I was invited to every fucking thing here. Like, Hillary Skolton's coming and doing a rally, and it's on, like, it's in your neighborhood. You should go. Hey, you want to go over to Detroit? We're going to a rally. We got Obama coming. Like, every fucking thing. But I never heard a word about any kind of Harris.
But Biden has created a box, and he's put Kamala Harris in it. And he wants her to stay there because he will never forgive her for the busing quote in the debates.
And I really feel like at the end of the day, and we're going to talk about this in a few minutes, that is self-sabotaging to the bench depth of our side of future tickets. But before
I would agree.
Before we go there,
okay, because I think we need to move on to the Trump issue.
That's where we're going, because I want to talk about opposing Trump after we talk about Trump. So Trump shows up yesterday. Late. And look, Comic-Con is 14-hour days, one after the other. It takes a lot. So David's like super happy. I gotta say, I wasn't really sure I wanted him to enter the race at all. I also wasn't sure I wanted him to do it this early. I definitely don't like him doing it this early. And
I love it. I love him doing it this early. I love it. I absolutely
Here's
love it.
the reason why I don't like it, and you can tell me why I'm wrong. I don't like it because it goads Biden into definitely wanting to take him on for the sequel.
Oh.
I feel like Biden can't turn down the opportunity. Like, now that he's there, I got to go fight him. He's my mortal enemy.
I don't think it actually matters at that point.
Not. And in some ways, Olivia's probably right. It is a gift. And it is a gift because, boy, let's get back to that thing that John mentioned, that New York Post. Holy shit.
Florida man announces a run for presidency. Turn to page 28. That was just...
I mean, Rupert Murdoch, if his dick wasn't a shriveled, flaccid, gray-bushed, fucking useless dangle, Rupert Murdoch just did the equivalent of...
It's like a mouse-eating Twizzler at this point, dude.
Rupert Murdoch did the equivalent of putting that shit in a penis pump and then walking to Florida and slapping Trump around. Actually, he impaled Melania on it and then used her to slap him around. Like, I can't wait to see the damage that does to Trump's desperate need for his name to be out there and for him to be the center of attention. And just, Murdoch knows what the fuck he did.
I don't think he cares. I don't think he cares. Here's the main thing: is that right now the Republican Civil War that's brewing, it's not going to end in a year. It's not going to end in 2 years. They're out with Trump now running for the presidency again. They're out. I would argue for the next 15 years minimum.
I wish I was as optimistic as you. I'm not.
Well, no, because here's the thing: even when Trump gets convicted and thrown into prison, right? His supporters, the movement that he's started, this Q movement that he's bolstered, is still going to be ripping apart the Republican Party for years to come. Remember the Tea Party, right? The Tea Party was supposed to be the salvation of the Republican Party, and it ripped apart the Republican Party. That's if I had to point to one reason beyond a lot of Americans wanted to get behind the idea of electing a black man to president, one of the main reasons that Obama got elected was the Republicans were still reeling from people like Jack Kemp, and even to a certain degree, Alan Simpson, old line establishment Republicans.
You think?
Looking at the party and saying, "Oh hell no."
I don't know, man.
I think they well, because Romney should have.
Like
Romney
Tea Party
been,
just cleared the way for Trumpism and Qism.
Well, no, they did. But the thing is that when they showed up first, Romney should have won. Right? A lot of metrics said Romney should have won, and Romney didn't win. He didn't win by a lot, and I would argue it had a lot to do with the fact that people who would have been rank and file Republicans refused to show up because of this Civil War. Republicans have always relied on suburban districts to push them over the line over Democrat-held cities, right?
That's fair because Bush really leaned into that. Like, oh, boo, scary, brown people with their heads wrapped in towels. Women in suburbs should be so afraid of war coming to your dairy streets. And Bush got reelected on fear.
Right, and
suburban dumbass women that believed his fucking fear mongering.
And the Tea Party began turning them off. Q and Dobbs have now permanently turned off the spigot of support from the suburbs.
That might be
like
accurate.
are the suburbs ever going to be 70-30? No. For Democrats, no. But here's the problem. The Republican math that works, right? That always works is this. The city runs up a massive number, right? 70-30, 80-20, 65-35 for the Democrat. Then the suburbs show up, which have less people, right? And they show up and they bring in, to the Republican, let's say that it comes out 51-49, right? That's enough for them to make up the fact that Sevier County, Tennessee only had 7,000 voters, right?
Right.
Yes, it's deep red. It is deep red. Like if you look at a map, it looks very red.
Oh, you
but
said
it only
deep
has
red. I thought you said deep red. Okay, yeah.
Well, yeah, either or works. But I mean, it's
inbred.
It's only 7,000 votes as compared to the 500,000 votes that just got cast for their opponent.
What do you think about this notion that Brian points out that Trump is just trying to cover his ass and stay out of jail? Like, there's really no legal status that protects him by declaring.
No, there isn't.
It's just a matter of appearances. It's his spin versus reality. He can say, "Oh, look, see, they're filing charges. They're coming after me because they don't want me to win."
He definitely wants
and
that.
Then
but
the rest of the logical world is going to say, "Well, all of these investigations were already happening as a result of your actual actions and choices before you declared."
Yeah, I'm gonna wrap up this demographic thing, and then I'm gonna hit that real fast.
Yeah, because I'm curious about your legal take on that.
So the main thing is this, where the Republicans realize that they're dying, which is the more they let Cletus in his mobile home in Sevier County try and steer the party, the worse it gets for them in the suburbs. They have to move left for the suburbs. They have to. And the problem is that they can't, because of where their money comes from, they can't bring themselves to do it.
Right.
Right now, the people who are trying to lead them out of this wilderness are people like Youngkin, who stays away from culture war topics as much as he can. He's still run into a few, and he knows that that those are problem areas for him. But Youngkin generally wants to try and stay away from those culture war topics and keep it on this message of, aren't you taxed too much? But the problem is even that isn't working that well right now, is it? Especially when you're looking at them being like, how much did Amazon pay in taxes? Mm-hmm. How much did all these rich bastards? My inflation's going up, and it's going up in a lot of America.
Our taxes is really not a big answer to anything because we all know what's going on in the corporate world.
Right.
I found this cover graphic, by the way. I thought I'd just throw it up here since it's such a goddamn joy. There it is. There is the lack of News Corp doing the job. I don't know if Donald Trump could have been successful without Fox and News Corp at his beck and call the last time.
Yes, he could have.
It's clear right now that he does not necessarily have that option. I just love this fucking graphic. This may have rescued what was shaping up to be a tired, exhausted, and really fucking annoying week for me. This rescued it by its damn self. You can tell they had this whole fucking paper ready to go, and then he did his thing, and they were like, I don't know, just delete that banner from the bottom that one sponsor bought and stick it in there. Fuck it.
But I mean, so moving on to Trump. So basically, the GOP right now is screwed on the demographics. Because their policies don't match up with what that place where they need to run even or slightly run up the votes. They can't get any more. They have to somehow make up the difference by convincing more angry voters in less populous places to show up and outvote the one big city or two big cities in each state. So moving on to Trump.
That feeds into what I've been pissed off about here, is that when you smear and discredit and frighten people away from cities, the part of the effort is a very nefarious ability, or not ability, a nefarious aim to reduce the impact of the city's electorate. I'm absolutely convinced that one of the reasons that right-wing politicians like to trash cities and chip away at cities' reputations is to run the voters away.
Bingo.
They know that those suburban people that choose to be urban people that are actually engaged voters, and I hate to say this because I don't like this, but it's a fact that lower income, minority, urban voters are harder a lot of times to get plugged into politics and get to the polls. So if they can reduce the city to nothing but the people that don't really like, this is why I'm glad we don't need fucking Georgia in this fucking runoff, because I worked that runoff in late 2008 and I know how goddamn impossible it was. I was knocking on those doors and I was looking at those African American citizens going, I already voted, man. What's your scam? And I'm like, I know, I get it. I'm a white dude, and apparently, according to my partner that's knocking doors with me, I look like a cop. I'm trying to tell you, you got to vote again. Bullshit, I don't have to vote again. You do. This is the way it works. And it was an uphill climb the whole fucking time, and it didn't work out.
Yeah, and it worked out for Warnock. Hopefully, it'll work out again. I feel like it should, again, because you were all concerned about, well, the Libertarian candidate, their votes are going to go for the Republican. And then I pointed out to you the Libertarian candidate was a flaming gay man in favor of drug legalization.
If that's the case, then good. That gives me some hope. I still stick to my theory that Libertarian is just fucking Republican light that doesn't understand how to manipulate the Republican primary.
Yeah, but either they don't show up, at which point that still dries up Warnock's share, or they do show up, and they're like, I was willing to vote for a flaming gay man in favor of drug legalization. I think I'll vote Democrat this time, as opposed to Herschel Walker. But back to the Trump legal thing.
I mean, if you look at us, like, Marianne Williamson, who was the moon bat whose name we couldn't recall a couple weeks ago.
Yes, Princess Stardust.
Princess Stardust. You look at her, like, she could have run in the Green/Stardust party, but she just ran the fucking Democratic primary, like, because that's how that works. Unfortunately, it is the system that we have. And
well, no, she wanted to sell.
Stupid to take over the Republican Party, and it blows my mind.
Well, that's because they don't hate minorities enough. It's against their philosophy. So
idiot teabaggers managed to take over. So it's just mind blowing that
right?
Most libertarians I know are not idiots.
Well, because the thing is, teabaggers are either implicitly or explicitly, and many of them are against one minority or another. And
that's fair.
Yeah. So back to the Trump trying to hide from prosecution thing.
Yeah, I'm very interested in your take on that because
it's not going to work.
How to read it.
Is that what he thinks he's going to do? Yes. So there's two avenues that Trump is looking at. Avenue one, which I'm going to go with the least likely, and then I'm going to go to the most likely. The least likely is he thinks he can actually win the presidency, and he thinks if he can get to the presidency, he can make all these prosecutions go away. Which not going to lie, is That's not true. Impossible.
Yeah.
But it's very unlikely.
In the unbelievable fucking legal details of our country, where somehow you can't fuck with a sitting president, which I wasn't aware of until, I was 2018 years old, apparently, when I learned that. Like, I mean, I always thought everyone answered to the law. And then I started hearing all these legal technicalities about Trump. Like, what the fuck? What?
There's all sorts of things. But option number two.
I'm not going to lie. If I were president, then I would insist on driving the beast, and I would be doing like 80 and a 30 all the fucking time. What are you going to do? Write me a ticket? Fuck you.
Actually, of all the things, one of the biggest cases or points against the FBI's position about not doing criminal investigations against a president is over a speeding ticket.
Well, for fuck's sake.
Now, get this. The first criminal prosecution of a sitting U.S. president was President Grant. And it was over the fact that President Grant was driving his carriage too fast through the city of D.C. And a police officer pulled him over and wrote him a ticket.
I don't believe this story, David. You know why?
It's real. It's real.
No. The only thing that I think Grant ever sped through was the South. Boom! Okay, sorry.
But yeah, he got a criminal citation for driving his carriage too fast through D.C.
That's funny.
But the thing is, several people pointed out it does establish a precedent that a sitting president can be brought before the court on criminal charges independent of impeachment.
I want to point out, to be fair, I somewhat paraphrased that joke just now from a story that a friend of mine used to tell me about a friend of his. The story goes that this guy was somewhere in Georgia in a muscle car of some breed, flying, and got pulled over by Georgia Highway Patrol with the whole act, the whole Smokey and the Bandit fucking theme. The big hat, the reflective sunglasses, the hand on the belt. Comes walking up with his little jingle jangle utility belt fucking strut. And he says something about, son? Oh, apparently this guy was of color. I don't remember if he was Latino or black or both. Son? Why in the hell are you speeding through my state like that? And he no shit looked up at this highway patrolman and says, I don't know, work for Sherman.
Damn.
Apparently, he ended up in jail for the night with an impounded car.
I imagine. For those Michiganders watching this show, we have a saying in the South for when something goes very fast, and we refer to it as like Sherman marching through Georgia. How did that Taco Bell treat you? Like Sherman marching through Georgia.
I'm just glad I live in a place where we build monuments to winners. Anyway,
option number 2 that Trump is looking at, and this is where I think is the most likely.
Message manipulation.
He wants the Republican Party so afraid of him that they will that a Republican House or any Republican operative at hand will do whatever it takes to make these charges, to make these investigations go away. Why? Because the thing is, if Trump remains in the spotlight, right, then he will look at them and be like, I will be your boat anchor, right? I will take you down. I will put the garrote around your neck.
So he wants to get his stank on him.
Exactly. He wants to make it so that they can't.
Theory. I hadn't heard
that they can't get away from him. Right?
They've proven that they can, and the media's reaction even.
But that's the thing is, they can't really though, because the thing is, if they want to win other things, right? So fine, Trump can't pick candidates. That happens. But the problem is that they still need Trump voters to win elections.
I mean, the only candidates that he picked that won anything were already fucking there. Incumbents are the only people that he can claim. Now he'll spin it, but any of the outlying newcomer kind of things didn't work out.
But they need his voters. They need his voters to show up.
True.
Here's the thing. Look at J.D. Vance in Ohio, right? He nearly lost. He very nearly lost. He won simply because Trump made sure that those Trump Republicans showed up to the polls. Oz should have lost in a landslide, but he didn't. He kept it close. Why did he keep it close? Because Trump made sure that his voters showed up to the polls. If Trump tells his voters to stay home, then the Republicans will lose. They cannot. It is a Siamese twin situation.
But I wonder, David. I wonder
they're sharing a liver.
I wonder if there are enough of these middle of the road Republicans that are willing to say, you know what? No, fuck you. You're breaking the party. We're going to lose this time on principle, just to fuck you over.
What is the mantra of Republican leadership? Power at any price.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I don't think they. I don't think they have a choice.
That narcissistic abuse.
I don't think they have a choice.
Scale, that is pretty much the summary of who he is. And as a person who I'm very open now about the reality of narcissism in my personality, and it's taken a lot of years to come to terms with that, right? But like, I've been pretty honest on this show. I've been pretty honest with a lot of friends, and even people from the past that had a problem with me who are willing to talk to me about it. I've been pretty honest with them that I've come to terms with that fact that there's a narcissism involved in my being that has been something that I needed to take on and recognize and manage. And I've been open about the fact that one of the reasons that Trump pisses me off is that I see it. I see it, and I see it being used for the greater evil. I always tried to use my narcissistic or megalomaniacal tendencies for a greater good. It wasn't always something that I did the right way, but ultimately aiming for a greater good. And when I look at him, and a lot of people that hate my guts used to say this about me a few years ago, like, he just hates Trump because Trump reminds him of himself. They're not wrong. I recognized it, and it's like, well, you piece of shit. Why couldn't you use that to make the world better? Jesus fucking Christ. And so I realized that part of the reason he pisses me off so much is because I understand him. And at the same time, that abuse factor, like, yeah, that's an accurate description of pretty much his entire, like, there's his brand, and then there's like the shit that's really happening, and that's what that's a description.
Right. And again, like, it's how he uses people and how he runs his business. Trump is looking at this as someone who he has a business partner over a barrel. Right. His business partner is the Republican Party. He has them over a barrel.
So I don't think that it's that dismal just yet. Now let me offer you the third rail, which is the obvious rail, and then I want to talk about the competition. So to me, it's obvious that he's done this declaring thing so that he can then say, They're just coming after me because they don't want me to run. They don't want me to be able to be president, so they're trying to put me in jail. And they're only doing that because I'm running. And he's going to try to gaslight and lie and try to get people to buy into the idea that, okay, they're only trying to prosecute him.
Which to me is still an option number 2.
Prosecutions are fucking 2 years old at this point.
Yeah, but to me, that's still, I just want to point out, to me, that's still option number 2. He's still doing that because he expects the Republican Party to come to his defense.
Okay. So let's talk about what would not be to his defense, which is the fact that it's very likely they'll actually have a primary.
Yeah.
And in that primary, the names I'm hearing tossed around obviously are DeSantis, which is the fight that Uncle Joe pointed out that we would love to see. Which
it's going to happen. DeSantis is going to. DeSantis thinks
I've
he's got
heard
it.
Christie, and I've heard Pence.
That fat bastard ain't worth shit, man. He
I was having a conversation earlier about this, and I was asked, who do you think is the least of those problematic individuals? And I actually said, I think Christie is the least offensive in that lineup. If you look at Trump, Pence, Christie, DeSantis, I would take Christie any day because he's the kind of devil that right? He's like a corrupt New Jersey Republican. You know that
if I had to look for a dark horse in this entire scenario, if I had to look for someone who I thought might have presidential ambitions and might be willing to move on it. Oh, God, what's his name? Hold on one second. I got to look it up.
I can't wait to hear what you come up with on this because I don't know anybody else is waiting in the wings. At least nobody that's like mainstream.
There he is. Sununu. I couldn't remember who it was. Sununu. If I had to pick a dark horse, it would either be Ducey or Sununu to try and run in and... Olivia, here's the thing with DeSantis. DeSantis is going to increase the party fracture issue. Why? Because, number one, Trump hates him. For the same reason that Trump hates Kemp. DeSantis looked at Trump and said, fuck you, I'm a governor. And Ducey for the same reason. Ducey, why did Ducey not intervene in the way... Why did none of these Republican governors intervene in the way that Trump wanted them to? Because Trump refused to kiss the ring of the governors, right?
Right.
He wouldn't kiss DeSantis' ring. He wouldn't kiss Kemp's ring. He wouldn't kiss... Ducey literally had him calling in the middle of a press conference, and Ducey sent him to fucking voicemail.
David, I do wonder, though, if DeSantis doesn't have just a little bit of willingness to... I'm going to use the phrase, to stand back and stand by, not run.
No.
Let Trump nominate, then sign on to the ticket on a fucked up promise that Trump has his next 4 years and then DeSantis gets to run and have 8 years.
DeSantis knows the... Here's the thing. When you lie to a liar, they can pick it out pretty quick.
Game recognized game. Yeah,
game recognizes game. And DeSantis is not going to believe that for a second.
Yeah.
Also,
I just don't know if DeSantis... Like, I'm still on the fence about whether or not he's got the ego built for the immediate run.
Have you seen his press conferences? Oh, yes.
I do find it telling that in his debate, he wouldn't answer the question, if you're elected governor, will you serve your full term? Because his term would be 2 years, and he would leave if he were nominated or elected.
Yeah, no, DeSantis is running.
It's worth pointing out that you can't be an effective governor if you're running for president. You essentially check out of the governor role.
DeSantis is running because here's the thing.
DeSantis, you think that's a shoe-in?
I think that's a shoe-in, and here's why. DeSantis knows that he, not Trump, will carry Florida.
Well, yeah.
He already has an alliance with Abbott.
Well, I don't think Trump wins in Iowa at this point. I think that this election cycle has taught us that Iowa...
Oh, no, I think Trump wins in Iowa.
Ooh, I don't know about that.
I think Trump wins in Iowa.
I think it depends on how many fucking cornhole candidates like Pence show up.
I think Trump wins in Iowa. I think DeSantis has an alliance with Abbott that he's already proven.
He only beat Ted Cruz in Iowa originally because of data science, and we're on to that now. I don't know if that's going to work again. Oh,
No,
shit. What about Ted Cruz? I would think he would run.
Here's the thing that Trump brings to the table that no one else does in a big way, which is Trump.
Fat ass. Well, except for Christie.
Trump brings angry suburban conservatives and angry rural conservatives who would not usually vote, right? It's that guy who is in that house. Like, so in Sylvan Park, there's this one house that has all these Trump flags out front, right? And you look at his house and you're like, man, everything across the street from you is new construction. Your house is not bad off, but it could use some help. And I get the feeling that, like, you looking across the street at all these brand new houses and the fact that they're selling for $800, $900, $1 million a piece, as compared to your house.
You're kind of hearkening to that OG towny, been there for 40 years, bitter old white conservative that's seeing the opposite of gentrification happen around them. Like, it's suburban success and value add, and it's also a little diverse and too diverse for their liking.
Right, and again, that's where Trump wins. Wherever the white population has gone down, and they were able to track this. Wherever the white population has gone down by more than 7 points as a percentage of the total population, Trump won by better than 10 points. And I think, and that's the thing. Trump can bring those people to the door.
Let's skip to the credits. If this is a fully fleshed out primary, do you think he can win it?
No. DeSantis will crush him.
DeSantis is the default champion.
DeSantis will crush him, but the problem is in the general, all of Trump's voters stay home.
You think so?
Oh, absolutely.
You don't think they're going to follow that little weasel piss?
No. Because he doesn't own the libs enough. He's not angry enough.
But he's not on a national scale yet. He tries to. Well, I would say that
he is on a national scale.
I would say that his weird, feeble attempt during that one press conference where he bitched at the college students about wearing masks, that does show that he doesn't quite have the prosecution.
So DeSantis has tried to get on the national. Why did DeSantis borrow migrants from Texas to send up to Martha's Vineyard? Right? Why did he borrow migrants from Texas to send up? Because DeSantis is trying to constantly get on the national scale. No, DeSantis knows where he's at. DeSantis is running.
Okay.
And he has Abbott in his back pocket. That's the alliance that has emerged in the South. You think
DeSantis, if he gets the nomination, would pick Abbott as the running mate?
No, Abbott doesn't want to leave fucking Texas. Abbott wants to be kingmaker in Texas. DeSantis will pick someone neutral, like
somebody agreeable,
or I mean, he may try and find someone.
That's your Sununu slot.
I don't know if Sununu would do it with DeSantis. I feel like he may pick someone like JD Vance.
With DeSantis, giggity.
I feel like he may pick someone like JD Vance.
Ugh. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. That seems more like his flavor.
All right. In the interest of time, let's jump to the other side of the ticket. First of all, I'm interested to know, and you may not be able to answer this, but where do you sit on the Uncle Joe runs again? Yes, no, thumbs up, thumbs down.
I feel like he wants to run again. I feel like he shouldn't.
Okay. All right. Here's the reason I'm a little bit frustrated about the Trump thing. I wanted Joe to be able to reach his conclusion without Trump's interference. And I actually kind of hoped that Joe would say at the State of the Union in a couple months, that Joe would say, you know what? I set us back on a reasonable track. America has been put in correction. I proved that in the midterm. I've done the job I came here to do, and I will not seek the nomination of my party for the president of the United States.
I think he may still.
I'm not really sold on him doing it again, but here's my concern. I don't have any fucking clue about our bench.
Here, okay, so here's our bench as I see it.
And
right?
I know what I just did. I threw open, ladies and gentlemen, you bet your ass this guy's about to list a whole bunch of people you never fucking heard of.
Right.
And even once you look them up, you're not going to care about them because they're terminally boring. But go for it, David.
No, here's our bench as I see it. On the centrist side, we've got, again, I love Spanberger for the job. I know I sing her praises way too much, but Spanberger can carry Virginia, which is now turned back into a battleground state.
Okay, so she's a great Secretary of Defense when she loses the primary. Go ahead.
Well, no, but that's the thing. Spanberger is an even keeled. She can deal with progressives and still come across as centrist. I love Spanberger for that. Slotkin,
Klobuchar slot for me, but go ahead.
Slotkin. Well, no. Here's the thing. Klobuchar has no presence. Spanberger, I would argue, has presence.
Well, I don't know. Klobuchar has a lot of presence if you attach like some sort of energetic, energy-producing device to her vibrating fucking hair.
Right.
That woman. I mean, you think with all those years in politics, you'd eventually get comfortable behind the mic and stop going.
Spanberger can pull out a knife and shove it in your throat, both figuratively and literally. So
yeah, but you know, Spanberger. I mean, God,
I like her for the job.
So a maiden name she could like change to.
I don't know. Here's the nice thing about Spanberger is you're not going to fuck it up with anything else. You're going to remember that name.
I don't get to play this name card anyway because I was a diehard Obama guy the whole time, and I mean, it doesn't get weirder than Obama as far as
no, it doesn't. So Spanberger is one option. Slotkin out of Michigan is another. I don't think Slotkin has as much stage presence as Spanberger. The other option that's out there, I feel, is if we've got to go younger. If we've got to go male, who have I got in male? Swalwell.
Oh, damn it.
Has been building it up.
I didn't expect you to evoke Opie that fucking fast.
Well, no. Technically, we have two Opies. Like, we always refer to Ryan in Ohio as Opie. Swalwell has actually done his best to not bring out, like, to shuffle off the Opie.
Swalwell is a handsome, buff fucker that actually works out on stage. I was waiting for you to drop some Mayor Pete into the, I guess Secretary Pete now.
Yeah.
You
know what? I don't think.
I'm cautious about my cynicism. I don't know that Pete can do it. And I hate saying it, but I don't know if this country's going to elect a gay president. I said that about a black president, and I was dead wrong. I was all in.
You know what the problem with Mayor Pete is?
I like Pete. I like Pete too, Brian.
No, you know what? First of all, I want to point out I want Mayor Pete to run. Oh,
here's what I'm going to say to Olivia's point about Porter. She does need to run, hold the Senate seat first, and get more name. I think the primary would be well served by the presence of Porter to call people to the numbers.
Yeah, and I will agree with that.
Her role would be very much an Elizabeth Warren kind of role of, hey, reality check. Now, what about Warren, man? Like, Warren's not tapped out, right? She's not that old.
Yeah, no, she's too old.
What?
She's too old.
How old is Elizabeth Warren? Oh, okay, fine. She's 70.
Yeah, she's too old. Swalwell, I feel like is in that mix very, very strongly. Because, again, Swalwell can walk in there as the bright Aryan, like, fucking child. And, like, you can look at Swalwell and be like,
I don't hate it.
I know, right? It works. It works. Hoochill needs seasoning. My only problem about Katie Porter is we need her in the Senate or the House. I do not want Katie Porter as president because she is too numbers oriented. I love numbers. I'm normally the numbers nerd who loves that, but she is so hyper focused on it. We need her in Congress, not in the presidency.
Well, and if she
because
ran, though, she would pull people toward the numbers, and then she could end up named in the cabinet. So that could work. I'm looking at Swalwell. First of all, I
don't even want her in the cabinet. I want her in Congress doing her numbers thing. I don't.
But nobody pays the fuck attention to her doing it in Congress. Only we do.
Yeah, we do all the time. A lot of Democrats.
We're fanboys. That's different. I gotta say, Swalwell, I didn't want you to be right about many of these, but Swalwell does have that cast an American president look about him.
Yep, he sure does.
Kind of like what I told you, and you didn't like this when I originally said it to you, but I was fucking right. I told you way before the Democratic primary even kicked off, I said, we know Biden's going to run again, and we know Bernie's going to run, and I'm all in on Bernie, but Biden is really the old squinty-eyed vision of an American president that everyone's going to need right now, and I was right about it.
You were, and I didn't.
Olivia's absolutely right about this, though. Porter takes no shit, and she absolutely is a gem. I could definitely get on board with her on the VP slot, but you're right, David. You got to make sure there's somebody in the bench for her seat.
Right, and that's because right now she's in a fight because I swear to God, California Democrats have never learned to fuck anyone more than other California Democrats.
That's true.
I want to come back to this little thing about Pete, though.
Does it matter anymore?
I don't think it matters anymore. And here's why. Yes, he's a combat veteran. So is Tammy Duckworth. She is crippled in a goddamn wheelchair from being a combat veteran, and she's unelectable. And you want to know why? Because she's in a goddamn wheelchair.
I think Pete is a very obvious, clear VP candidate. So let me throw you one last tidbit before we shift gears here. Swalwell, okay, he's got the look, and the name is not too weird. But is there anybody that we're thinking that we're leaving out that's very middle of the road, very marketable?
Spanberger?
Oh, for fuck's sake, stop it. The name is weird. Nobody fucking cares. Nobody knows who the fuck she is. She's just another white chick that no one's going to pay attention to.
Spanberger's awesome.
You only have a boner for her because you're a wonk. I'm talking about regular fucking people. I'm talking about regular, go out here on the street and stop somebody and ask them kind of people. So I don't know who that is, and that bothers me. Years ago, I knew who those people were.
So I'm trying to pick out
Pam Berger will never be president. That's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah.
We don't have any star power. That's my problem. There's no Newsom. I don't know if he's a winner, but he's definitely got all the boxes.
You know what the problem with Newsom is he seems too slick.
Oh yeah. Kind
That's the problem with Newsom. Is every time I look at Newsom, I feel like he should be selling used cars.
Yeah. You kind of want to take a shower when you watch much footage of him.
Right. The problem with Newsom is, and I think even Newsom recognizes that his popular appeal is zero.
Now, stroke notwithstanding, I would have said Fetterman. Like I would have said Fetterman on the Obama plan.
Fetterman needs 4 years.
Yes.
And then he whatever happens after
your 15-year Democratic paradise that you were just.
Yeah, I mean, like Fetterman needs to be up there. I mean,
I just don't know if we have any stars waiting in the wings.
Whitmer?
That's a problem.
Could we throw Whitmer up there? I feel like we might be able to throw Whitmer. The only problem is Whitmer has the same problem that like Pete has. Whitmer and Pete both have the same problem, which is they draw aggro. And for those of you who've never played an online a massive multiplayer,
that's funny that you used that analogy.
Yeah, RPG. So you can have a character in your party whose specific job is to draw attacks,
draw fire, right?
Draw fire from everyone else. Like that character will normally have massive health points, and their job in the party is to make all the enemies come to them, so that the rest of your party can do other stuff.
I I don't know, dude. You might be right, though. You might be right. I didn't even think about it. She's in my own backyard. I didn't even think about it. You might be right about that. I think there's a place in the primary for Whitmer at the very
There is a
least.
place in the primary, but again, after the mask thing, I don't know if she draws aggro. The problem with Pete,
dude,
the problem with Pete is that Pete, because he's gay, will draw massive aggro.
Yes, but with Whitmer,
He will draw massive attacks because he's gay.
She just pulled off overseeing a blue conversion of a state in the full, and
yeah, you know what, I gotta look at Whitmer.
Kidnap plan. She's been an infrastructure champion. She presided over a state that just passed 3 progressive amendments. There's a lot of cred there, but she's also got that don't you know Midwestern mom.
But ironically, that works in her favor.
Yeah, it does.
It works in her favor because Hillary Clinton never had that. Don't you know? Hillary Clinton had the overly erudite.
I mean, let's be real.
Hillary Clinton had that overly erudite mode to her, which turned off a lot of suburban and rural voters.
Brian,
it's not too early.
Points out that it is too early. It's probably too early in a lot of ways. We should never forget about trying to build the bench. Let's crack another beer and move on to the closer for the evening, ladies and gents. So if you're still with us, it's time for another round. David, I'm going to go first this time.
Okay, I'll go first.
No, I'm going to go first this time. You went first last time, fucker. It's my turn.
Fuck you.
So I am on the holiday ale train tonight. And I wasn't going to do this early, but I was going to save it for like at least December. But we've had some snow, and I've been getting kind of in the mood. I'm starting to think about putting up the Christmas lights this weekend so that I can be one of those people on Thanksgiving that goes bing. So my old standby favorites. Well, also, David, you have to consider that we live in Michigan, so you have to do that shit earlier than you're going to turn it on.
Oh, that is a point. That is a point.
I learned last year, if you wait till December to put it up, you can't feel your fingers or your dick by the time it's over.
That's me putting away the produce order, being like, I need to take a moment.
So we all know that, like, in Lucas's top 5 brands of his lifetime, New Holland has a space, or Dragon's Milk specifically, but I give him a little bit of interchangeability.
Oh, by the way, I have reserve over at Reds.
Oh, good. Which one? You don't know, do you?
I have Dragon's Milk Reserve.
Yeah, there's 4 of them a year, so good luck. So here's the thing. I love the branding system of the Windmill series. This is called the Windmill series when New Holland goes with their straight-up beers. They've got, like, I think 3 or 4 different brands under the roof. And Windmill series, and then there's Dragon's Milk. I like this beer better than I like its label. Now, I usually rave over the labels, but here's the, like, I get that it's holiday. It's very holiday. It's got like the holly kind of abstract, and but this green on green, it's like guacamole formed into a logo. I don't know. Like, I like the bottom part, this like shiny red holiday ale part. But here's the thing. I tried this on draft the other day, and when I drank it, the first thought I had was, this is Christmas in a can. And I really do appreciate the Christmas in a can factor here. So the holiday ale clocks in at 9%. It's getting rated a 3.8 average right now. This winter ale is inspired by the festive taste of eggnog. I don't know about that. And brewed with milk, sugar, and enough nutmeg to fill Santa's sleigh. Agreed. Post-fermentation, the beer is aged in bourbon barrels, which is why I like it, for over 3 months to add a kick of bourbon, vanilla, and oak. And it's a 9%er, like I said. Yeah. So there's a little something to it.
Yeah. Which, by the way, if you like stuff aged in bourbon barrels, stay tuned for my birthday / Thanksgiving episode next week, and you'll get to see me get absolutely wrecked.
Yes.
Off of three different beers aged in 3 different hard liquor barrels.
Now, we don't know when that show is going to be. By the way, we're still trying to settle who's got what plans, so stay tuned on the timing. But worst case scenario, David will be here by his damn self getting drunk, or will it be like a later night show and we'll all be sleepy and fat and getting drunk? But
which seems likely.
So here's, I cracked it open today because I thought, it's snowing, that's great. But honestly, this is running up against it's not late enough in the year. So I'm going to encourage people to go get their stash of New Holland Holiday Ale, and then don't do a me. Don't open it yet. Sit on it.
Yep.
I could see slamming through these through the entire course of Christmas Day, and I very well might. This is a beer that I think everybody should have on hand for their Christmas parties if you can get your hands on it. But it's a little early for me. It's just not quite cold enough, not quite snowy enough, even with a little bit of the snow that we've had. But I think this is going to be Christmas in a can and just fucking perfect when the time arrives. We do not have a fireplace. We have a gas fireplace, and it's capped off because it's too old. But if you've got a fireplace with wood and some popping and some sizzling and some just mild smokiness escaping into the room, this beer is Christmas in a fucking can. I would also drink this to wash down Santa cookies any day. So I think this is a great beer for the season. I'm a little early to it, but I do like what they're doing with this. I think they've laid down a really good beer for the holidays. Right. David, you're up.
So before I go on, I want to point out, Olivia. So I will drink Harpoon's Winter Warmer when hell freezes over, rewarms, freezes over again, and then rewarms again. And then I will drink Harpoon. No, not doing it. So no, I'm not doing it.
All right, where are you at?
Harpoon has cheated me too many times. So All Hallows Ale. So this is like the last of, I guess. So this is technically classified as a pumpkin spice, whatever. But it's calf killer.
Didn't make the cut at Halloween, huh?
Right. But here's the thing: you have to understand, it's calf killer, and it's these pair of, I don't know what mental defect these guys have.
Why you got to throw Calf Killer under the bus?
Well, no, it's these two brothers who run Calf Killer. I don't know if they're just like super autistic or what the fuck is going on with them.
They're one of my favorites back home. And David's over here.
No. Here's the thing: I'm shitting on them, but I'm shitting on them for this one reason. They do not consistently deliver product to anyone, right? They just be like,
well, okay.
Yeah, we were making pumpkin ale, and then we forgot, and then we kegged it, and we sent it to you. Like 2 weeks after it was due.
All right, fair enough. So this wonderfully delicious porterish treat brewed with all the pumpkin pie spices, 5.8% that rates at 3.7, is good or not?
It is delicious.
You're just pissed because it's delicious and it's late.
Well, first of all, to explain to all of you, I would normally not do a quote-unquote pumpkin beer this late, but it was Calf Killer, so I had to be like, I'm getting it. I don't care. I'm getting it because it's Calf Killer and it's delicious. Calf Killer is like our New Holland, except for the fact that New Holland apparently knows how to run a production schedule, and Calf Killer is basically just like, I was bored, so I decided to actually sell you beer.
No. The closest equivalent to New Holland that you've got going on in Nashville is Fat Bottom. The analogies are Fat Bottom is to New Holland as Yazoo is to Founders.
So I don't know what
I would compare Calf Killer up here. I mean, it's tiny, so I would say like maybe Gray Line, which is fabulous right here in my neighborhood ish.
No, but to explain, Calf Killer is two brothers out in the wilderness of bumfuck nowhere,
Sparta, Tennessee.
No, but like the thing is, they're not really even in Sparta. They're like outside of Sparta. They use Sparta as an address.
That's a little bit of a nitpicky approach. Sparta is small.
Have you seen the brewery? It's literally in the fucking woods.
I went there, and Sparta is already small enough to throw a football across, so it's not fair to talk about what's in the vicinity or not. And additionally, to be fair, COVID murdered their plans to move downtown.
To be fair,
into the old waterworks in downtown Sparta. They had a plan. It just got shot in the ass. I don't think they ever got to do it. But it's true. If you roll up on the address that you would see if you look up Calf Killer Brewing, it's literally a farmhouse on the corner of some country roads with a farm behind it. And one of the barns is the Calf Killer headquarters, which has a gift shop in the front, brewing in the back, and one of the wives is always working the counter. But you know what I'm going to say is they are willing to spend as much time with you as you would like them to spend.
This is true. This is very fucking true.
You can try drinks. You can buy merch. I had a beautiful experience, and honestly, the rootsiness of it really fucking charmed me after already enjoying the beer. But David's not wrong. There is a certain amount of, we'll get to it when we get to it.
I mean, well, because I had to have a conversation.
They were homebrew hobbyists that got successful. So
well, and then had a massive court case that completely poisoned them, and then they.
Well, I didn't know about that chapter.
Oh yeah,
and the name comes from the name of an actual river that they pull the water from for the beer. Like
the Calf Killer River, which is not really a river. It's Tennessee. We name creeks.
It's a river, but it's not a like Mississippi.
Sometimes we name creeks rivers, and sometimes we name rivers creeks.
Calves. It earned its name.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like Richland Creek is technically a creek most of the time until it isn't. Things like that.
So you like it. You wish it was out on October 1st.
Well, no. Here's the thing. I feel like this is a very good, like, they call it All Hallows Eve. This could very easily be a Christmas beer. It does not, like, it hits with a nutmeg.
Huh.
But it does, like, there's so much brown, like, there's the brown ale malt. Very strong in it.
I'm looking through the photos, and I'm seeing that. Definitely seeing that.
Like the brown ale malt and nutmeg combine in it to make it kind of Christmassy. Even though they named it like a Halloween beer, I'm not getting any pumpkin spice. I'm just getting nutmeg and malt. Let me clean my nose real fast.
Okay. So I'm flipping through the photos just to follow along while you describe it, to look at the beer, and then someone posted the chalkboard from their brewery. When you walk in, there's a major support post to the barn. It's got a chalkboard on it, and it says today's growler fills Sergio's old evil ass devil bullshit ale,
which by the way is delicious.
Which I really want to try based on name alone.
But it is delicious.
October surprise : All Hallows Ale. So it's like almost like they didn't even know they were going to have it.
I mean, it's. I feel like they made a brown ale and they didn't know what to do with it, and they just like took a fistful of nutmeg and threw it in there.
Maybe they did, David. Maybe they did.
And again, like those fucking bastards. I feel like maybe they did.
So it's good. It's just late.
Here's the thing: Calf Killer doesn't make anything bad ever. Right. Wizard Sauce is like the low end of what I accept from Calf Killer, because the only problem with Wizard Sauce is you made a Belgian ale and you shoved enough hops in it to kill a cow. And I don't know how I feel about that. On one hand, inventive. On one hand, bold. On a third hand, ew.
So, closing out tonight, in the last scant minutes that we have to be over our general allotment, let's talk about a little more of this Twitter thing. So, the overall topic at hand that David, this is David's pet topic, but the overall topic at hand that he, sounds on brand. By the way, you're absolutely right, Olivia. So Twitter, we know, is in deep trouble in so many ways, but Twitter going tits up is not the only item on the hit list. So there's a certain amount of Twitter being like a bellwether for the industry or the segment of social media itself. Now, I don't know how much I'm ready to bet on the death of social media as a whole segment, but I think that the things that we know as verbose content social media might be facing a death. It's almost video killed the radio star to me. Now, David, you've probably read some background on this that you're going to share, but to me, I see social media giving way to visual social media and long-winded, opinionated fucking bullshit that people like me would have tweeted or Facebook posted are going to start disappearing to short-term or short-form video and that sort of thing. But share the real drive of your point here.
So the Atlantic published this really interesting article, and I'm going to clarify this. I preface this conversation with Lucas from this article from the Atlantic about Twitter dying is the beginning of the death of social media, and the author paints this picture of there's a separation between social network and social media, which is there's people that you know and you develop networks with, and then there's social media, which is this constant eye-grabbing piece of reality.
Okay.
Which is what Facebook and Twitter and TikTok and Instagram and all these things do, which is it's constantly trying to just simply grab viewers, right? Faster, faster, and faster and faster. There's a conversation to be had. I don't agree that Twitter... I feel like because of what Elon Musk has done to Twitter, that Twitter is dead. Twitter is on its way to dying. I think because of Zuck's mismanagement of Facebook, that it is in its own way on its way to being dead. I don't know if social media is on its way to dying. I feel like there's a lot of people who are cheering for social media to die and trying to do this like hair splitting of, social media and social networks, right? Of eye grabbing versus, you build actual connections with people. I think we're too far gone from that. I think that there's this moment that we are reaching, however, which is that social media and social networks, which are really at this point almost the same thing, we're reaching a moment where we have to start rethinking about what our role in them is. I honestly believe, personally, that I think Facebook's going to kind of devolve back to a MySpace reality.
I always considered Facebook more of a live journal presented in a feed.
Well, I mean, but again, that's in many ways that's what MySpace was.
Yeah.
Right?
I honestly, like right now, I don't know who the fuck, I'm going to have to look it up. I don't know who owns MySpace right now, but
AOL. I think Warner owns it.
Oh, Jesus, there's even less excuse. MySpace should be vying and marketing hard.
Right?
Take over the gap left by Twitter. I mean, what the fuck is wrong with those people?
Well, I mean, because here's the problem. TikTok is purely visual, and I'm going to be honest. TikTok has all the hallmarks of a fad. Remember that they tried to do Vines, and Vines didn't work.
Timberlake. Jesus Christ, JT. What the fuck, man?
Remember that they tried to do Vines, and Vines didn't work. TikTok right now is being propelled by fad after fad after fad. It's not... It's my constant complaint with so many marketing ploys, which is there's only so much you can sell of a collectible Yoda doll. As fast as crypto has risen, it's falling rapidly. If you have a collectible, like even Uber, if you look at Uber, the moment we hit rough seas, Uber stock is falling. Tesla stock is falling. Tesla stock is falling for a variety of reasons, but it's also because people put their trust in idiots like Elon Musk, who then took all his shares of Tesla, which was overvalued a lot to begin with, considering his debt load, and then turned around and leveraged the shares that debt was predicated upon even more to go buy a $10 billion, at most $20 billion, probably $10 billion company for $44 billion. We are reaching a moment where we have to rethink social media. Honestly, I think that we're reaching a point where maybe we need to think about Facebook as a public utility. There was a moment about 4 years ago where we thought there started to be a movement about we need to maybe start thinking about Facebook as a public utility.
I don't know about that, man. It's such a disinformation factory, and apparently they have rules now that they can't fact check any politician. So like Trump immediately qualified by announcing for a lack of fact checking. Like I don't know that you can put lipstick on the Facebook pig at this point. I think Twitter could go the way of the dodo because of mismanagement and be destroyed. I think it would be sold off in a fire sale. I can't figure out who really owns MySpace. It's like this Virtue Capital something. I don't know.
Oh, well,
there's a world in which whoever the fuck it is that owns MySpace could buy Twitter and merge them. But I feel like MySpace is sitting on their hands right now. They've had 2 solid weeks of space in which to go wild on collecting users and reformatting what they offer to the world. Because MySpace was the closest thing to Twitter. It had a very short feed format. You put like often annoying sparkly GIF bullshit in it. But they've leaned into this whole connection to media thing. I think that's where it's at. I really feel like Instagram and TikTok represent, and maybe YouTube to some extent, where we're going with social media. Even though I don't love all of that, I think
Instagram will survive. I think Facebook is going to be, Elon Musk kept on talking about a town hall, and the thing is, to a lot of people, that does kind of appeal. But the problem is that
not a town hall. It's not even a town square.
No,
it's a town square where everybody's driving around in circles, yelling out the window at each other. It's not engaged.
No, it's not. But I think I do think that we're going to. I feel like in some way or some form we're going to end up with a public utility Facebook.
I mean, I would say that Nextdoor has the first possibility of becoming that.
But no, but the problem with Nextdoor is not functional. Also,
I mean, it's garbage and it's got corrupt practices left and right. But I mean, it's at least.
I feel like we're heading towards a point where we have some sort of public utility Facebook that people can post to. At the very least, like if you're a major city like New York, Facebook is incredibly useful, right? And if New York finds it useful, then Philadelphia finds it useful. If Philadelphia,
I would say it's useful no matter how you slice it. It's just rivers are useful, but sometimes you would only sail on them. You wouldn't fish.
This is true.
That's how I view Facebook. It's contaminated water.
I feel like we're heading towards a point. Like these people talking about the end of social media. I don't think we can end social media. I don't feel like that's something we've gone too far.
That's like me in college saying for-profit news needs to be eliminated. It's so far ingrained that it's not likely.
Yeah, it's too far. But we need to start maybe talking about what's next after Twitter. What's next after this hyper commercialization of social networking and social media. I feel like there's a balkanization coming. And here's the problem when you balkanize something. And for those of you who don't know the phrase balkanizing something, it means to take one thing that was whole and shatter it into many pieces. The problem with balkanizing Facebook or any of these other social media conglomerates is that we're going to go back to the 1990s where things don't work right. And this is where I don't think consumers will accept it. Is that right now, if I go into Politico, right, and I want to send an article to Lucas, which I regularly do, I hit a button, right? It says share, and it gives me options to share. It says, oh, I can share to Messages on Apple and send it direct to Lucas. I can share it on Facebook, which I regularly do. I can share it to Instagram. I can share it to Twitter. I can share it to all these other things. These are what are called back-end APIs. And I think that in the MySpace land, what we didn't have were these back-end APIs. These tunnels which connected our social media / social networking / whatever you want to call it. Again, I don't feel like there's enough of a separation between the two for us to really clarify. Like if I'm on LinkedIn, my Facebook is linked to that, right? It's the same thing. It's all the same thing. But I think these connections are these back-end APIs are too important to too many things for us to just simply can. We can't do it. We can't just simply make all these things go away. So we're going to end up with a situation, I think, we're not going to end up with a situation in which Facebook goes away. I think we may end up with a situation in which Twitter, as it currently exists, goes away. There are already Twitter alternatives, Mastodon being first and foremost among them. But even if Twitter, as it currently exists, starts to die, it's going to be a long, drawn-out process. I think if something like TikTok or some of these other upstarts show up, it's a much easier process to kind of cull them from the market.
You call things like an upstart, Grandpa. It's well past that now.
No, it's still an upstart.
As much as I dislike TikTok, and I'm just generally cranky and old man about it, it's here.
It's longevity of post is the issue with TikTok. How long does it, again, TikTok and Vine are to me, in my mind, the same thing. Vine was a thing for a hot second, but the problem with Vine was, by its very nature, it was intransigent.
No, TikTok is not quite the same. TikTok does have, I think it has some staying power. I'm a little concerned about the Chinese intel factor. I think that there's some legitimate questions about that concern.
Which is another thing, which is other nations going to be like, no, I don't want TikTok in my country.
Here's what I would say. I think I agree with Olivia in the present. TikTok is a delight. Like, we often flip through TikTok just for shits and grins. Like, we go to bed and lie down, flip through a few funny TikToks. The problem with TikTok in that respect is I think it's a very Trojan horse platform. It lures you in with the well-meaning positivity, fun, ha-ha, ho-ho. And then at the end of the day, it's still a data set that is entirely susceptible to the whims and interests of communist China. So there is very valuable critique to be considered, but I think I hearken, and I would totally design a tech talk for this if I knew enough about art history and anthropology. I have for a long time had this loose theory in my head that, human beings started cave painting to communicate to each other using pictures. And then we went all the way through this technological path that we've been on as a species. And then we came all the way full circle back to cave paintings. I consider Instagram to be the modern technological equivalent of cave painting.
Now,
In that we are starting to tell stories about our lives in imagery, and in this case, motion picture imagery. And then TikTok is not far off from that.
well, I mean, I would argue that we never actually really left cave painting imagery, considering the fact that in a variety of countries, the way that you elect candidates is simply by the picture of either the candidate or their party. So,
well, that's more of a McDonald's menu kind of problem.
right, but it's still cave painting. It's still the cave painting. Again, but
That's true.
Here's the thing. I think we're headed for a sea change in social media. I don't think TikTok is it, simply because I don't feel like TikTok has the staying power to do it, and I feel like TikTok is yet again another fad, simply because it doesn't have. My eyes are not on the video long enough. Like, when I scroll through Facebook, I see plenty of ads. I don't see enough ads on TikTok. When I, like, Twitter, I see plenty of ads. You have to have, like, this is what always been one of my arguments against Twitter and against a lot of social media platforms is, how are you going to make money?
That's a good point.
We are so over time.
Yeah, we are. That's okay, though.
We did the pet. We did the pet as last.
I think as the immediate future is concerned, TikTok is definitely on the chopping block in the risk zone. It's weird, but because I deal with it every day in a B2B company role, maybe the last man standing is LinkedIn.
You know what? It will be. It will be.
Let's hope LinkedIn it never becomes personal. I like the safety of LinkedIn being a business thing.
I've actually lost my login to LinkedIn, and Jesus. I feel better about it.
No, don't. It's a very useful utility. Anyway,
I feel better about it.
It's that time of the evening, folks. It's time for us to go ahead and shuffle off. But we really do appreciate you joining us. It's been a lot of fun. There's been some good topics. I think I like the format of getting the big one in the middle there.
I do. So then we can bullshit and not have anything matter at the end.
Right. It's nice to be a little bit looser at the end for everybody that hangs out long enough. To that end, you know what? I think it's time to retire. Thank you for joining us. Please feel free to share and like and tell all your friends. This is a hobby. This is a American patriotic duty to us. So we're not trying to make a buck. And even if we get a buck or two, it's just going to pay for some of the bullshit expenses.
Beer, mostly beer. Actually, all of it is going to beer.
Pretty much it all goes into the beer fund. So I'm going to leave you with a couple of things. First of all, there's our usual sign-off. And then I'm going to leave you with the indelible images of the evening subject matter. So with that, we will say good night.
Good evening. And
good
luck.
You